Hi, this is Bishop Craig in DeWitt, and this is Take One for the week of April 21st. Peace be with you. I have just a couple of meetings this week, staff meeting on Wednesday and a portico listening session on Thursday. And then the weekend, I get to head up to Grace in Alpena to preach and preside for their 150th anniversary. So that's very exciting. I always like going to Alpena. And I believe Pastor Bright will be at Prince of Peace in Portage, I think assisting with worship, but also facilitating conversation about youth ministry. So that's kind of exciting. And Pastor Sprang, I think, has a weekend off, a well-deserved weekend off. So that's really good. Monday is Passover, Monday and Tuesday. I saw on the news that people are being told to exercise caution, even for Passover festivals, celebrations in their home, because anti-Semitic expressions of hate are up 3 times, which is just very unsettling to me, that people are threatened for practicing their faith. So I hope you will join me in praying for our Jewish siblings during this holy time of the year for them. I will also spend some time this week working heavily on Synod Assembly, which is now, 3 weeks away? The Assembly book is online. It's really a series of PDFs, and I hope you'll read it. And we are moving ahead with implementing our plan, which has been approved by Synod Council. We are receiving, as we would expect, some expressions of concern that there will be cheating on the voting, and how will we know if people actually come to the tech sessions, and how will we know if the people voting are actually the people voting? And luckily there's not a lot. This is just a few people, and I need us to take a breath and to realize, first of all, that while we are simultaneously saint and sinner, as Luther would say, we need to decide whether we will approach the assembly and one another as wretched sinners who cannot be trusted, or as disciples of Jesus who are trying their best to be faithful. And we are opting toward disciples of Jesus who are trying their best to be faithful. I also know that we need to balance election security with user friendliness. And that's not only true in virtual assemblies, that is true in in-person assemblies. There are other programs that we can use where you would need a unique code, and you would have to receive an email for every ballot, and then you'd have to fill out the ballot and send the ballot back. And that is just kind of beyond the technological capacity of our synod. So we can go to total election security, but we would lose ease of use. And that's true whether we are virtual or online, or whether we are in person. So there are some things you can do to help. 1, read the assembly materials. 2, become familiar, again, if you forgot, with Zoom and with the Vivox voting software. 3, come to the technology orientation. 4, come to the discussion on the budget and compensation guidelines. Basically, we need to prepare for assembly. The notion that we can walk in without doing any preparation has never been true about synod assemblies. It's certainly not true about the church-wide assembly, right? So we need to get ourselves together. And 5, if you need help doing the voting and running Zoom, get a helper to sit with you. My staff will tell you that they help me with these things. Lynn Kreiser, our synod attorney, will be sitting right next to me. 1, to help monitor what's going on in the assembly, but 2, to help me manage the technology. You don't need to do it all yourself. So if you're a voting member, maybe invite your grandkid to come to your house and help you do the tech. And who knows, that might spark some interest in church, So that's, I guess, what I would say today about Synod Assembly. But the plan is set, and we're not going to redo it, so please understand that. And the deadlines are set, and we're not going to redo those, or we're not going to make exceptions to those, because we really have 4 weeks of work to get ready for the assembly so that the assembly goes well. Right? And you can help us, and you can help the rest of the assembly by being prepared. Now, I am not dismissing concerns that we do not comport ourselves perhaps well at synod assemblies. That is why the theme of the 2025 assembly is Live a Life Worthy of Our Calling, which comes right out of the liturgy, the rite, either for the opening or the closing of the assembly, and is based in Scripture. Live a life worthy of our calling. So especially at the 2025 assembly, when we are together and when we are having a bishop election, we're going to talk about what it means to live a life worthy of our calling and the behaviors that are appropriate to that, even in a synod assembly. This is not presidential politics. This is church work, right? So that's what I would say about the synod assembly today. The gospel reading is from John. And on the 5th and 6th Sunday of Easter, we always get stuff from John's farewell discourse, it's called. All that Jesus says on the night before he dies in John's gospel. It's what Jesus might say to us if Jesus were leaving us, and in a sense he is in this point of the Easter season. Hearing these words on the other side of Easter helps us realize that Jesus made all kinds of promises on the night before he died, and that indeed he has fulfilled them. So that's the good news. In this reading, Jesus talks about being the vine and his Father being the vine grower, and us being the branches, or the disciples being the branches. And as disciples, we are branches. And I have always thought that makes clear that our life flows from the vine, from Jesus. I picked up on the apart from me you can do nothing. So we need to be grounded in Jesus. In some reading I did this week from Caroline Lewis, who teaches at Luther Seminary, I was reminded of the other side of the coin, that yes, our life flows from the vine. So we need the vine in order to live, and the vine needs the branches in order to give, in order to bear fruit. So the way that Jesus shares and extends his risen abundant life is through the branches that bear fruit of love. That's how people come to know Jesus, by experiencing the fruit of love in us that flows from the vine of his own life. And so Jesus needs us to bear fruit, not to make ourselves right with God, but to extend and share his own abundant life. And so that we have that talk in the beginning of the reading where if branches bear fruit, the vine grower prunes them to make them bear more fruit. But if they don't bear fruit, the branches get removed and thrown away and burned in the fire. I don't mean that in a judgment way, but the bottom line is the church, congregations, we exist to bear fruits of love, to extend Jesus' life for the sake of the people and for the sake of the world. We don't exist as ends in ourselves. We are branches that bear fruit. So that's kind of a new fun way to think about church. And so we have all clung very effectively to the phrase, God's work, our hands. So as I've thought about these days, the slogan that comes to mind is Jesus' life, our love. Jesus' life, our love. So Jesus' life grounds us, and Jesus' life is shared through our love and through the fruits of our love. So I'm going to figure out how to preach that at a 150th birthday party in Alpena this week. Jesus talks about abiding. And if we go to the reading from 1 John, I think, it's only Monday, but I think there is some guidance there on what it means to abide in Jesus. So that is what I am thinking about this week as I prepare to go to Grace in Alpena. I think I told you last week that we are excited that St. Paul in Reed City voted to extend a call. I signed the letter of call this week. We also have an installation scheduled for Bread of Life in Hudsonville. They have called Pastor David Beasy, who is retired from Metro Chicago and going to take a halftime call for the next 5 years. So that's pretty exciting. So that's some good news. So this is take one for the week of the 21st of April. I'm Bishop Craig in DeWitt. Christ is risen, and peace be with you. Take care.